After taking a break from watching anime to focus more on school relationships and my mental health, it was nice to be able to relax and enjoy another anime. And the show that I got absolutely obsessed with and binged both seasons in 2 weeks was none other than Sangatsu no Lion. I was a little skeptical at first about an anime with another high schooler who was gifted at something, but never have I seen an anime change my mind so quickly and with such flair. With its truly unique art style and characters that felt so real that I was able to feel the tension on screen when something intense was happening, or feel bad for the characters whenever they broke down crying. And never have I seen an anime portray depression and questions of self-worth so perfectly that made me feel like I was in their situations, sharing the characters' fears and anxieties, especially with the main character Kiriyama. Not, of course, with the same issues that he has, but the same types of feelings of not being able to find your own worth, and whether you deserve to have the feelings that you do, being tied to one thing because that's the only thing that people will recognize you and base your worth upon, making you feel like that in order to be appreciated, you need to keep appeasing others with that one thing you hold on to so desperately. Kiriyama is no doubt one of the most distant yet most relatable characters that I think I've ever seen, being able to balance a tragic backstory that most people can't relate to, but dealing with those problems like a real person, allowing for the watchers to have a deep feeling of relatability with him. Him having self-doubts and acting in extreme caution to the people around him, thinking that if he interacts with people, he'll eventually end up hurting them, and staying alone and being quiet at school to not draw attention to himself so he doesn't get bullied, and helping around his house to appease his mom, hoping that she would pay more attention to Kyoko and Ayumu, only ending up with his mom having more self-doubts about Kiriyama, thinking that he was just acting nice to gain affection from her, or maybe he was secretly scheming something to make fun of her family, but later learning that he really was just a good boy. At first, Kiriyama seems like another main character that has a sad backstory that has to overcome his past and feelings to become a better person, and while it's partly like that, the show is so much more than just that simple formula. Every time you think that a story will become something you've already seen before, it flips your expectations and turns into something that feels real, something that makes you feel for the characters on screen, slowly building a larger story as episodes go on. Peeling back more and more layers of each character's fears and backstories to show a beautifully and intricately crafted show with characters that have real thoughts and motives that make sense. Showing what's on the line and what they'll lose if they don't win their shogi matches, or showing just how helpless they can be when put into a situation they don't have control over. Shimada is probably one of my favorite characters in Sangatsu no Lion. His first shogi match with Kiriyama set him up to be this intimidating and impossible to beat opponent, but we later learn that he's just a normal person with the same type of motives as Kiriyama, making when he says the line "you decided to finally look up" even more impactful for the viewers in Kiriyama. When you first see this, you don't really think much of what it means and when he says it, but you later learn what he meant by those words. This whole time, Kiriyama has been looking at his opponents as if they weren't people. He was looking at them as something he can just study and win against. He didn't realize until Shimada said that you finally decide to look up that the players are different than their shogi match sheets and that playing them won't hurt them. Sure, it of course sucks to lose a match you've been preparing for, but they decide to keep playing on their own will. They decide whether they win or lose that they want to keep getting better at the game, even if that means losing a match they were desperate to win. It's not your fault that people let their emotions out on things or people in different ways. You can't control them, and they shouldn't control the way you think about yourself. You shouldn't let the emotions of other people dictate how you live your life, or let others tell you what you are or aren't as a person, because they don't have that right or authority. No one does. And it wasn't until Shimada beat Kiriyama in a shogi match so bad that he had a mental breakdown that he finally realized that shogi shouldn't control his life. He does deserve to be happy, and he should have freedom to do what he wants with his life, and he does deserve to have people care for him. Throughout Kiriyama's whole life, he's always tried his hardest to not disappoint others and to keep himself close out of others' lives. Growing up with a sick family and only being able to interact with his father through shogi, and after his family's death having to grow up in a new family where his siblings hate him because their father thinks more highly of Kiriyama's shogi skills than his real kids Kyoko and Ayumu. Kyoko even decides to quit shogi, the one thing that her dad was proud of her for, and she also decides to verbally and physically abuse Kiriyama, putting even more pressure on Kiriyama to leave the house and live on his own, hoping that he'll be less of a burden if he isn't with the family anymore. And when he does finally decide to live on his own, the pressure of shogi and school still toll on his mental and physical health, leading to become more depressed and malnourished to the point where all he does every day is practice shogi and eat ramen. Day problems too. A Akari, who is the oldest of the three sisters, has the responsibility of taking care of her younger sisters ever since her mother died and her father left. And Hinata feels like she has to put on a happy front at home, while at school she's slowly losing her one friend due to bullying that she can't stop. And with the dramatic and emotional conclusion of the 4th episode on the 2nd season, we see her break down again like she did in episode 3. Not because she remembers her mother who had passed away, but because she just lost her best friend Chiho forever. And when we see her come home crying from school, instead of walking away casually to not bring attention to herself like in episode 3, she instead runs away crying, as a desperate last attempt to not worry anyone with her problems as to not get them involved and lead to further bullying at school. And when Kiriyama catches up to Hina by the river, she explains that what she did to protect her friend wasn't wrong, that she's had enough of seeing her friends suffer every day from a group of girls that bullied her and ostracized her, getting to a point where when the girls made fun of Chiho leaving because of her mental health, Hina tackled her in a fit of rage. Her entire school year has been watching her best friend be bullied and brought to tears every day, watching her slowly give in and become so depressed to the point of having to leave school and go into rehab. And after standing up for Chiho and having her leave, along with the bullies stealing Hina's shoes, it made her realize that they're going to target her next, leaving Hina to come home crying to her sisters and Kiriyama, and eventually running away with Kiriyama following her to the river quay to break down and cry. Kiriyama's always felt that the bad things that happened in his life was his fault, punishment for the things that he's done to other people, accepting verbal abuse and bullying from his sister and kids from school. I've certainly felt this way before, and so have many other people that I know. Feeling trapped in a cycle of self-punishment and self-hatred because you feel like you deserve it. Feeling like you aren't worth other people's time and love because all I'm going to do with it is just waste it. But when Hinata said that what she did wasn't wrong and that she doesn't regret what she did, it made Kiriyama realize that even after everything that he's gone through, all the self-closure from family and students and trying to appease people so that way they don't think of him as useless, he is worth something. He does deserve to be loved and cared for. He does deserve the right to feel needed or wanted. He just needed to look ahead and find someone to help him realize it. Realize that he doesn't need to keep playing a game that he hates. Realize that his siblings and parents hating him or questioning him shouldn't define his character. Realize that he's worth something more than just a checkered board with pieces and deserves to be cared for. He just needed to look ahead past the black and white waves and realize it. Okay, sorry for taking like a month to get the second video out. It's been kind of hard to record audio lately because my whole family is loud and this new microphone I got picks up audio really easily, so hope you guys can forgive me for that. But I hope you guys liked my second video on Sangatsu no Lion. This one took a little bit to write, had to rewrite the script 10 times, but hopefully it was interesting and nice to watch, and I hope you guys got something from it. So thank you for sticking around, and hopefully you watch my next video. See you.